Hello and welcome to Spooning with me, Mark Wogan. As ever, you find us here in the Mount Street restaurant in London's swanky Mayfair. And Jamie Shears, the head chef, will be cooking up 2 spoons for my guests to try, and I will, of course, be blindfolding them as ever. Now, today's guest, high energy, funny, evil genius, and it turns out, expert on all things health. He's in the middle of his fantastic new tour, which goes all the way through till next December. And he's taken a small break here for me to blindfold him and feed him some stuff he loves and some stuff he thinks he hates. Please, will you welcome Russell Kane?
Thank you.
As regular listeners and viewers will know, before you come on, you answer a questionnaire. Food loves, food loves, all that sort of thing.
And I think I've made a bit of a stressful job, because I don't know if you've had a peasant on before that grew up in a council estate.
Yeah, plenty of them.
So as you all know,
you're not my first.
As you all know, most peasants were given the diet of, that's for dinner, and if you don't eat it, there's nothing else. And by day 3, when your ribs are showing through, Brussels sprouts looking pretty attractive. So I'm now a dustbin. If I go to someone's house of any culture, creed, dietary persuasion, I will eat whatever goes in. It's not even a discussion. I laugh at the question dietary requirements.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things, and the whole purpose for this podcast is I don't have anything I won't eat. So my view is, if you
happily married then.
Yes, exactly. 20 years, thank you very much. But
That explains it.
But that thing of people not liking certain ingredients is down to the fact, in my opinion, you just had it cooked badly for you.
Possibly, yeah.
All right. And then there are certain things that I agree with you on from your questionnaire, like, you talking about going to other kids' houses when you were little, because it sounded like the food was quite good in your house growing up.
It wasn't just that it was good. It was like my mum just knew the basics taught by her mum. If you got onions, tomatoes, garlic, you can sort of go anywhere around the entire globe with a decent spice rack. So every night I come from school, it could be something relatively boring like shepherd's pie, but me and my brother would just get that. And I couldn't get my head around going to other people's houses, and the mum and dad would be like serving spinach and all these lovely things, and then we'd get potato smiley faces on a separate plastic table.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why are we not getting the nice food? But that's normal. That is more how houses
Convenience,
operate.
like, throw those at the kids, we'll eat what we want later. And that whole thing of family eating together is so important.
Absolutely,
as well.
yeah.
And, all those kind of stuff, if it's not food shaped and it looks like a face, for example, like smiley face potatoes, that's not good for you.
Absolutely.
And
unless you're eating a suckling pig, in which case the head and face is very much part of the meal.
And if in Spain, an honour to be served the head.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. If you get the head, you're the guest of honour.
I'm thinking about they served me the. What does that mean?
Well, we won't dwell on that. Now, one of the things that was in your questionnaire that I was very buoyed by was your love of all things pizza.
Yes.
And the fact that you go to the trouble of making your own pizza.
Yeah, we've got this. I'm not plugging a brand. I've just never seen anything like it, because they've got the patent on it, so I have to mention it. It's called a Della Vita, and this guy he's like Yorkshireman, but parents from Italy, and he was determined to develop a pizza oven without a chimney. So, and he's done it. So you think everyone's pizza oven in the garden that they built with brick or bought at the garden centre has like a chimney type thing, but he's made it's like a high sort of space age resin with a solid concrete bit in the middle. You put your pizza in and the smoke comes out the front. It's my favourite toy in the garden.
I know quite a lot about pizza, and I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the sort of food manufacturers now are doing these new indoor pizza ovens. So I got sent one by the lovely people at Cuisinart, and it actually works really well, and it cooks the pizzas properly.
Great.
But I don't know if you know this about me. I know quite a lot about pizza.
I didn't.
Yeah, I've had pizza restaurants all over London. And down here, I've got something for you from my company, which is Home Slice Pizza, if you've never had it. Now, in here, the other thing you were quite clear about was your love of spice and Indian food. Now, it turns out, by sheer fate, that one of the pizzas I have on the menu at the moment is this, which is a keema lamb.
Oh my God.
With chilies, spinach, and toasted broad beans.
If I had 9 pints in me now, I would cry with happiness.
Well, you know, imagine you have, because it's finished with a lovely tarragon sauce as well.
That.
So,
Stunning.
have we unwittingly created your perfect pizza then?
Probably, yeah. And if I struggle to cook a meal without spice in it, I really do. And obviously, sometimes I'm cooking a Sunday lunch for Northerners, and I'm like that. I'm like that with the jollof. I've got my own jollof seasoning, and I will like chuck it in everything.
Well, that was what surprised me. We were talking before. You no longer, you know, although a child of Essex, you now live in Cheshire.
I do, yeah, which is basically Essex up north.
Yeah,
It's so my teeth and my hair will fit in.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you want to try some of this?
Yes,
I mean,
let's do
it was lovely and warm when it arrived.
Yeah, but pizza's great cold
but
anyway, so it don't matter.
exactly. So this is one of my favourites on the menu at the moment. But you've got sort of everything in there. Tell me what you think about that.
Oh, my God, that is delicious.
It's like a really posh naan.
It is like a sort of a keema naan, but it's got veggies in it, so you don't feel as guilty.
But that's the inspiration for it.
I've gone in twice there.
No, nice. Carry on. It's yours. Now,
That is great.
if you want to take that home, just a tip. The best way to heat a pizza up? In a dry frying pan. Don't stick it in the oven.
Really?
Yeah.
What about an air fryer? Crisp it on it.
Well, you'd have trouble getting one of those slices into an air fryer.
True. Oh, that chili is brutal. It's taking no prisoners from man.
It's proper. It's proper. And because I'm not Italian, I'm not held to any
Really?
rules. No, I don't know if you've noticed. There's a slightly more
I almost
Irish
started
tip.
speaking Italian.
I know. Well, the pizza was there.
You're from the very north part, Kilkenny.
Yeah, exactly. But we have a rule that if the flavours will go on a spoon, it'll go on a pizza. This lovely dough here is merely just a vehicle for whatever flavours you want to put on a pizza.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. And please let us know if you would ever like to visit if you're in town. We shall make sure you get looked after.
Yeah.
But that is for you to take home.
Thank you very much.
We'll pop that down there for now.
I've just seen my granddad in Luton. They love leftover food, don't they, old people?
Yep.
Don't waste it.
Don't waste it. Now, with your love of all things spice, how brave are you around spice?
Do you mean heat or spice?
Heat.
No, I don't believe in testosterone levels of heat because you start to lose the flavour. That said, some of my favourite chilies for flavour are the hottest, which is annoying because when I'm putting Scotch bonnet, which I cook a lot with,
You love Caribbean food, and Scotch bonnet is
right.
part of that.
Yeah, it's not just how someone from Glasgow keeps their hair dry. And no, I got one of these new ones, so like my hair's like it never gets wet. But the Scotch bonnet it's annoying because it's one of the few chilies that actually has a strong flavour. That and chipotle, if you're northern chipotle, they've got a real strong taste. That and a Naga chili would be another one.
Well, I've got something else down here.
But I'm not a fan of like, I can't taste anything and now I need a skin graft.
Now, I saw these, which I thought were quite interesting.
They're not Death Reaper, are they?
No,
California.
No. It's not that California Reaper thing. They are ghost chili pork scratchings.
Yeah.
You want to give those a go?
Not really.
Come on.
We've got to talk, haven't we, for the rest of it?
Hold on. I'm not getting any heat off that at all.
We haven't got going yet.
Oh, here it comes.
I've just been munching pure red chili on your pizza. It's not overbearing.
No, it's very subtle. I've got something else down here that's a little less subtle,
That's it in the back of the throat now.
which is 100% pain, which is supposed to be one of the hottest ones on the market.
See, now I think this is people that, when people have very, very hot food, it's people that think they understand spice, but they're not. It's a bit sort of, how can I put it without descending into identity politics? It's Gary from Essex doing spice.
Yeah.
You know, not
Well,
Oliver
it's
from Shoreditch doing spice.
Faux alpha male spice.
It's not about flavour. If you go to India, or if you go to St Lucia or Barbados, or if you go to Africa where I've been, not many dishes are inedibly hot. They've got a kick.
But do you think that thing of having a bit more information about it and a bit more sort of, understanding of the whole thing is you doing that antidote thing, which you've always done, which is a kind of antidote to the alpha male and kind of taking the mickey out of
Maybe,
the alpha
yeah.
male and that kind of thing? Because your book,
Yeah, son of a silverback.
was all based around your sort of dynamic in that environment.
Correct. I mean, just with my love of food, there's a heat level I can get to where you can no longer taste the food, and for me that doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, I've had some very good, very hot Indian curries, but once you just go beyond that, it's like a battle rather than a pleasure. Same with Thai food as well.
So your palate is what would be described as a world palate.
I explore one of the ways I explore culture is through food. You can't just jump on a plane and go to Lagos. So the next best thing is to learn how to cook some food from that country and maybe learn about that food.
So you are a keen cook yourself?
Extremely, which is not many stand-ups are. It's not easy. I try to.
Well, especially with a 1 million date tour that you are currently on.
Being based in the middle of the country very often, like yesterday, for example, I picked up at 3 p.m. So that's enough time for me to pre-prep a meal, put it in a hot bag, and I've at least got one cooked meal. Takeaway wise after the show, because I get hungry about 11, I try to stick to Lebanese and Middle Eastern food purely because it's the least. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
It's the least with, right? So if you get Indian food on the road, it tastes delicious, but it's probably not ghee. It's probably sunflower oil. What's in it? I don't know. Whereas the most I can do with hummus is use rapeseed oil instead of olive oil. You've got shawarma chicken. You sort of know what you're eating, if you know what I mean, if you stick to Middle Eastern. So even with my takeaways, I'm trying to stick to international whole foods.
Because I think you stated in your questionnaire, I don't like white people food.
That's what I've been told. I can't just serve it. It's like I come out in hives if I just see a piece of chicken without just like put something on it. Yeah. I mean, it's got salt and pepper and it's crisped up in the oven, and I'd want to put some sumac on there.
Bit of love.
Life's too short not to have boiled chicken.
Well, we've got to that point in proceedings where I am actually going to hand you your blindfold from the lovely people at Smug. Yeah, give us those blindfolds. Nice, they're very nice. It's eyelash friendly. That.
Looking for a decent sleep mask.
Well, there you go. That's yours to take home.
That's one of my favourite comedy sketches, by the way. Have you heard of a sketch show called Farmalam?
Yeah.
Have you seen the white people chicken sketch?
Yes.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? They go, we're going to cook some chicken today. So we're going to cook white people chicken. So here's your spices. Just put those in the cupboard. You won't be needing them. Very funny.
Right, pop that on, and we are going to serve you your first spoon.
So this is really weird. I feel very vulnerable here.
Yeah, that's the point.
God, this is good. I need one of these.
No, that's yours to keep, that one. There we go.
Right.
You could sleep anywhere with that on. So I'm going to slide the first spoon in here. Here we go.
You guys are used to watching.
And I'm going to feed it to you. Which you might find a little weird.
Open wide,
lean in a little, open wide.
Oh God, please.
Go on.
Just
breathe, you'll be fine.
Is this a BBC podcast?
No.
Okay.
Right, you ready? Open wide, there we go. Now, tell me about flavours, textures, what you're getting there.
That's a mash of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And some meat, couldn't tell what it was. Could be chicken. There's maybe butter in there. Pepper and salt. There's no spice whatsoever. Like literally nothing.
Take the mask off.
Yep.
I got Jamie to make you the most white people food you could possibly do, which Yorkshire is pudding. Bangers and mash.
Right, it was a sausage.
Bangers and mash with onion gravy. Now,
what's
like not to love about that?
I'm not saying I wouldn't love it. If I was served it, my mum or my nan's this afternoon, I would chow it down. It's lovely. But just imagine a chorizo sausage instead. Completely different experience. Imagine that mash with some paprika and some chives in it, or some chili flakes on top.
You can always do more, but it's always about that, trying to find that balance, as you were touching on with spice, and it's the same with what you add. It's like you don't want it to end up some sort of mongrel of a dish where you've thrown everything, so it takes time and practice to sort of understand, which you've obviously given yourself time and practice to sort of understand what flavour profiles you like, what sort of things, inspire your palate.
I love sausage mash, and the onion sort of brought it to life. I didn't set the gravy, but to be fair to me, could be the temperature of the food, which is also a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it arrived hot on time.
Just like me.
So I can't tempt you to the second spoon, only because it's gone cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But sausage and mash, definitely. I would. It was my nan, the other nan I lived with for 3 years. She was the master of the toad in the hole, and she used to do a loaf tin, burning hot in the oven with your fat or your dripping in there, and then cocktail sausages sprinkled through, and then as the batter, which is the best batter recipe I've ever had, came to, you've got like sausages hidden like a game of Kaplunk amongst. It was so different. Like every slice, you didn't know how many sausages you were going to find. And she did a chopped toad as well, which was lamb chops in a chopped toad.
I'm a big fan, with a bit of rosemary through the batter.
So exactly, rosemary again,
And
fantastic.
then with the onion gravy, a little bit of red currant jelly through the gravy as well.
But now we're talking.
Yeah,
But delicious.
good. Well,
I
I'm
got
glad,
the mash.
because that was challenging your bold statement of I don't eat white people.
Well, no, I'll just if you look at my Google search, the things it suggests to me, it definitely doesn't think I'm a man of my age from Essex. It's like here's something else you would like, and it'll be like a traditional African hat and a
Now, talking of age,
yeah.
you've gone with your wife on what can only be described as quite a deep dive, and then produced something fantastic out the other side of it in terms of, I suppose it would fall under the banner of improving health span, which is your brand Jolt.
Correct. Yeah. So health span is a word that people don't use yet properly. People use lifespan because they're so hung up on how long we would live. Or what is the point of living to 100 if it's frail or infirm or not happy? So it's more about my life. I want to live maximising the percentage of years that I'm allocated. Any one of us can get unlucky. Anyone hit by a car, cancer, God, anything could happen. So you just want the years that you get, the percentage of them to feel vital and to feel young, whatever that means.
Well, I think it's that thing of, if you ask most people how long do you want to live, 85, 90. But there's that kind of acceptance that the last 15 years is a bit rubbish.
Yeah, which is not inevitable. It's just simply not inevitable. Otherwise, all human beings would finish their life like that. So yes, there's bad luck. Yes, you can be born with all these conditions. I'm not dismissing any of that. I'm just saying you can maximise your health span with the free ones are the best. Not any bloody supplement anyone's pushing. Diet and exercise, the ones no one ever wants to talk about, although we are today.
Or do.
Yeah, or do. Sleep and stress, harder to manage when you're busy or you're a parent or you're economically challenged, but you really should look at your sleep. 6.5 hours actually unconscious is the minimum you want to be getting, normally, which means 8 hours in the sack to get 6.5 hours unconscious. And stress management. Can't change the crap that's happening to you, but you can practice your response to the crap. Manage those. Then by all means, evidence-based supplementation on top will supercharge whatever you're doing. Now, I've been doing this for 10 or 15 years out of economic necessity. I have a stand-up act, which is like Lee Evans on steroids. And I noticed I was getting to 30, 35, starting to get tired in the middle of the set, not attractive to an audience. And I was like, how can
Were they noticing?
No, but I knew how it was going to end. I was going to have to change my act or be like I saw Justin Timberlake dancing recently, and he's like, "And move your body in LA," and I'm like, mate, maybe,
Hold on, he's
maybe
not
just
that old.
Just
How old
hold
is-
the fries. And no, but that's the point. You don't want to be doing an echo version of yourself at half pace.
But you'd think someone like Justin Timberlake would take proper care of
happens so
himself.
gradually, though. I'm probably sure it's going to be great for the next tour, which I am going to as well, because my wife's into JT.
So is mine.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest things I ever did for her was front row at the O2.
He's an incredible
under
man.
the mic.
So the point is that once you've done all of that, which I started to do it manually, I'm cutting out sugar, do a bit of exercise, build it up bit by bit. I ended up with this ridiculous medicine cabinet of things, some which are, you should take it, we don't know if it's safe, some which have no evidence, and some which definitely have evidence. It was ridiculous. I'll take that at 9 a.m. That, and my wife was like, do you know what? I want to do what you're doing because I want to age more slowly because I'm 12 years older than my wife. So she thought, well, I can never catch him up.
She could see what was down the road.
She started to catch me up, and she didn't want it to end like normal Essex marriages where I have to learn Thai and move to Thailand, which is compulsory for the 60-year-old Essex male. And it's more or less, where's Uncle Terry? Oh, he's 60s in Bangkok. So she started to do it. My wife is the genius behind this. I'm just like the gerbil with hairspray on. She realised how annoying and difficult and how male dominated by like me using sciencey language, fantasising about living to 100, whereas most normal people, men and women, but particularly women, to make this a 50-50 conversation, are time poor, bored by the science, not interested in talking about telomeres and cells. They're like, I just want to feel younger for longer and feel more vital. She said to me, what are your top 5? So I gave her the top 7 in the end. I went, these are the ones with the best evidence: NMN, resveratrol, curcumin, fisetin, and a couple of others. And she was like, why has no one created an all-in-one? So we rolled it all into one, launched Jolt, got our third-party certification to show our ingredients are genuine, which if you're taking any supplement, if they don't show you their third-party certificate or can't share it with you, it's fake. And then it just went mental from the first post. We've done no advertising. No. Then Lindsay, we've got no money, obviously, because trying to launch a supplement brand.
I tried to buy it and couldn't.
Yeah, but you're in the hole 100 grand before you even get going with a supplement brand. And she said, let's gamble with another 5 figures on a clinical trial. And I'm like, Lindsay, if we fail this clinical trial, it's game over. And there could be so many reasons a clinical trial doesn't work.
Doing more 150 tours to pay for it.
And also you can't tell people can get ill on a trial, people can not stick to it. And we could only afford a small sample and test 2 things, hormones and muscles. But we smashed the clinical, we destroyed it. 60-year-old woman, her testosterone went up by 13.8%. Women don't understand how important testosterone is. All this obsession with estrogen. So it's just gone, it's absolutely nuts. I've just come back from the Middle East where we've launched there. I did a gig while I was there. So we're in the business of making people younger, and it all started from me doing it for a genuine reason. But my wife's the brains behind the operation. I'm literally just the haircut.
Well, I mean, it is a kind of pet project, is myself as I get older, because now I'm 54, and I find that my whole sort of regime gets more and more involved as I get older. I mean, I don't know how you feel about ice bathing.
I know it's probably good, but it's beyond one of the things I can be asked to do.
Yeah, I do it every morning within 5 minutes of waking up.
I just can't do it. I just can't. I just don't want to be cold. I mean, the thing is with me, one part of my biohacking, a word we don't use on Jolt, it's another one of these Elon Musky rocket show-off men in their 50s and 60s sciencey words. There's nothing wrong with being that person, but it excludes 98% of everyone else. So on my journey into optimizing health, or however you want to phrase it, is if you can't be asked to do it, maybe lose a couple of years off your lifespan and don't do it. That maybe do have a pizza once a week. Maybe do go to Ibiza and absolutely get on it with vodka for a couple of weeks. You know, there's that balance. I'm really big on balance.
Yeah, well, I think that the whole thing about it is if you go, right, I'm going ground zero with my life and rebuilding, you set yourself up for failure.
And also, you see what happens. There's a guy, I think his name's Brian John. So I'm sure a lot of stuff he's doing. He lives in an oxygen chamber, goes to bed at 4 p.m.
Oh, no.
Probably doesn't.
No.
You know, it's just like a rod with Just for Men rubbed in. It's like, what's the point of being a stick covered in Just for Men? Like, what's the point? No. I want to dance. I want to get on it. I want to live life to the full.
Well, it's also that other thing of, you know, I read and enjoyed, although it was sciencey and written by a middle-aged man, was that Peter Attia book.
Yes.
And one of the most important things he said in that was essentially sort your head out, because what's the point in living longer if you're miserable? And if you look at all those people who are, you know, in their 80s and 90s and appear to have energy, they're all quite happy.
Yeah, and that's why most of them are women, because most men are miserable. So we all die at about 60 or 70, most of us, just drop down dead. I can't explain it. It's because he was a miserable twat who sat in the chair in the corner. Then you've got a generation of women in their 60s who then have to pretend to grieve. How will I survive without the miserable? I've got no one toxically mocking my parking. Goodbye, Barry, into the crematorium, park in there. So there is actually no biological reason why men should live less years than women. They can't find one. Yeah. They've looked at everything, diet, exercise. There is no reason. The only one that remains is the fact.
Miserable.
Yeah, we're checking in on each other.
Yeah.
It's the same reason atheists die earlier than religious people, and married people live longer than single people, because human communion in any form will keep you alive.
I think you need community, you need some kind of spiritual path, whatever that is. I don't do structured religion myself, because that is so important, and it's missed, and I've started to get involved with a thing called My Black Dog, which is a men's mental health charity, and it's really clever because it's just volunteers, and what they do is, it's quite simple. They just bring groups of men together.
And we have to be forced.
Yeah.
And that's why when you get these blue zones, why don't all the men in Sardinia live to 100? It's because they're trapped on the side of a bloody hill and they can't sit in the miserable corner on their own. They've got no choice. The house sometimes literally has to be passed through for one neighbour to get to another.
If it's a community.
You cannot isolate yourself. And men, including me, we love sitting on our own on our VR headsets and just really good at being on our own. But there's a cost for isolating yourself. There seems to be some sort of neuroprotected or cardiovascular benefit to what we're doing today, talking. Yeah. So I get my spiritual communion from audiences and talking to people. I'm lucky I'm in a job where I'm talking to new people all of the time. But a lot of men, they just fall into that.
Yeah, they just drift away slowly, and it's staying current, it's staying, keeping yourself vibrant and all that sort of thing. Now, moving away from that subject, obviously you've had a very successful career now. Starting, you gave up a successful career as a copywriter.
I loved my job. That's the one. You talk to a lot of stand-ups, and one of the best things you can do if you want to go into showbiz is dislike your job, because it will really push you forward. I absolutely loved my life. I come from sod all council estate. In fact, my first home was a mother and baby shelter while we were waiting to be housed.
Because you were born in Enfield, weren't you?
Yeah, so my dad's family's from Essex, but my mum got up the duff over the Enfield border. So we had to... Yeah, just literally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, her leg was in Hertfordshire, and that was a good one. And we had to make ourselves homeless to get housed, thinking it would be a relatively quick thing. I don't remember this. I was a baby, but it wasn't a quick thing. So my first 8 months of my life, I was in a shelter with women that were being domestically abused that lived in this house.
Your parents were actually together.
Yeah, my dad would visit every day, come home from work and check we were all right. And it took 8 months to get housed. And we were just into the council system. But I guess my mum and dad, I was never brought... I think what's gone wrong with the generation that are, say, 16, 17 now living on council estates is they feel like they're excluded or with the underclass. I'm from the ends and all that. Whereas I was brought up, it was a privilege to be given a council. We were one of the lucky ones. We beat the system. We were one of the winners. But something shifted in people's heads. So I never felt deprived.
I mean, as a older, slightly grumpier person, I think social media has a big role to play in that. Yeah. It's like you're showing endless images every day of how your life should be.
Particularly with men who, we know male suicide, we're getting deep now, but male suicide rate is 7 times greater than women. And I think the social media's got a part to play because... Huge. Men are very status, wealth, watches, cars, look how much money I've got, look how big my muscles are. And social media is worse for that. Women get messed up physically by going on social media. You've got women who now want to look like filters. Can you graft a dog face on with some Botox?
But I've noticed that. I see young women around. I mean, we're just here in Mayfair, and my office is actually just over in Marylebone, so I'm really close to Selfridges, which is a sort of mecca for sort of what appears to be the influencer culture. They all gravitate there. And the makeup companies have very cleverly designed what appears to be a kind of style of makeup that makes you look in real life like you have an Instagram filter on your face.
But that to me, it blows my mind. If you're single, or if you're getting to know a work colleague or something, or you're going to meet someone for the first, and you've looked at their filters, I can't understand if you're single, if you turn up and you're going to have a different face, how you think that date's going to go. Like, we're still human beings. You still need to be attractive.
It's an acceptable level of catfishing, isn't it?
It is.
It's like,
and it literally is, because you look like Lion King. Put enough Botox in. How much Botox do you want today, Carol? Oh, it's. I don't know. Do younger people actually find that attractive? That frozen look? Because I think if you have enough Botox and work, you just look 50. You look 50 if you're 20, and you look 50 if you're 70.
You've sort of accelerated the process.
What's happened is, with our brains now, we smooth our skin out to look younger, but our brains learn that that's something that someone older has done. So ironically, you've achieved the reverse result.
Very difficult as a performer as well, because you've got that thing where if the whole front row of your gig is Botox, you can't tell whether they're happy or sad.
No,
because there's no expression.
Depends which comedian.
Yeah, yourself.
Yeah, well, I know they're laughing on the inside.
Exactly.
I can't. I'm not against. Just to be clear, I'm not against aesthetics. I've got a line here. I would love to soften, but I'm just scared of losing any.
You've also got a curry-related scar as well.
I have right here. Yeah, I would love, but I'm scared of losing expression. I think if it's on brand, if you were like Joan Rivers or something, you can make a virtue of it. But I'm terrified.
But it is easier in today's society to grow old gracefully as a man than it is for a woman.
And that's where the social media is worse for women. You've got the anorexia cults, the eating disorder cults, which are damaging women, but men are topping themselves because they can see someone who they've not known since they were 11 has got a successful business in Miami, right? A few years ago, before 1997, just someone in the street owning a nicer car than you was enough. That was enough pressure. Your cousin doing slightly better than you. That was enough pressure. Now I've got to look at what watch Drake has got on. I don't need that pressure in my life.
And it's unachievable. It's a ridiculous expectation to have of your own life. I think, was it they say expectation is the thief of joy? Because you're there wishing all these other things for your life and actually missing out what the good bits are.
Yeah.
Now, talking of good bits, your guilty pleasure was interesting to me, and I've got some of it down here.
I do remember the dog I said on the phone now.
Well, here, look.
You got some?
I went to all the trouble of contacting the lovely people at the Happy Heads Food Company, and a lovely girl called Judy dropped that over for us today. Tell us what that is. For those who are listening, tell us what that is.
Did you meet Judy?
I didn't, unfortunately, because I was busy.
Can anyone meet her? I was filming at her house on location. I can't remember what we were filming. And she was also, we used her as an extra or a part, so we was using her and her location. And I looked at all her shelves, and she had all these wonderful things that I like. Organic coconut oil, spelt flakes. I'm like, what are you doing? She went, I've got a small granola brand. She went, try that. And I was like, whatever. Brought it home, me and Lindsay had it. And do you know what the eye roll in the back of the head? I was like, I never had granola like it. It's unreal.
Because for that whole sugar thing, and how, if I do eat before sort of midday, I don't want a ton of sugar in it. No, because I find I'm going to crash about 2 o'clock.
There's no sugar in this. There is coconut sugar in it, which to your blood probably amounts to the same thing. Well, look, but it is slightly better.
You've sold this to me majorly. I've got a couple of bowls here.
Swedish chocolate.
And how do you say that?
It's Swedish chocoladbolla.
I mean, it's.
You've ordered the premium jar. They do refill sachets.
Let's face it, though. This is luxury stuff when it comes.
It's extremely expensive.
Some from your earlier life would say you've changed.
They would.
You would have had ricicles before. What is the correct amount? Is that the correct amount?
It's the correct amount for what we're doing now. If I was at home alone, I've got a bowl with munchies written on it. It's about that deep.
Yeah, but hold on a second. I mean, look at the size of that. How much of this are you getting?
I get the 600 gram refill bags.
Oh, I see.
And I'll probably will smash 100 grams in a serving. But that's what you're supposed to eat, 30 grams.
30 grams. They always say that on the site, even if it's sort of Kellogg's stuff, it's 30 grams. So
I mean, eating granola on mic is enough to make the sound man hurt himself.
This is a food podcast after all, so.
It's so good. Now, doesn't that taste like it's not healthy?
That's amazing. Happy Heads Food Company, organic small batch granola.
It's just Judy. She's a nut.
Thank you, Judy. That's amazing. What's the?
I don't mean that.
So, Happy Heads Food Co. Go and look at that on Instagram. Go and buy this stuff. It's phenomenal, isn't it?
You've got desiccated coconut in it, coconut sugar, spelt flakes, really good chocolate,
But that
not too
other-
sweet, perfectly balanced.
Now, my Susan is an obsessive granola eater. We're going to have to get some of that. But that's for you to take.
Oh my
home,
God,
the rest of that.
that one I actually will be taking.
What, you're saying you're leaving the pizza behind? Is that what you're saying?
I just think on the Thameslink train
Right,
that
fair
I've
enough.
got to catch.
Fair enough. So, you've got this tour, but also later on in the year.
It's hard. No, it's hard to stop eating that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it
Do
is.
you see what I mean?
I
We
want-
literally
I want
can't, but we can't.
All right, so we just have another spoonful.
I told you, I knew it. You're going to be in a 12-step with me now.
That's phenomenal. That is, honestly, I think one of the best granolas I've ever eaten.
I spend, you won't believe how much money I spend on this granola.
Well, can. But like you say, you've changed. You know what I mean?
And it's great because sometimes if it's late enough on tour and I'm in a town with no options, all I need to do is pick up some skim milk earlier in the day. Hey, I'll just do that after my gig.
Right, time for you to put the mask on. It is time for your final spoon. Slide this one in.
Is everyone uncomfortable with this?
Some people just take to it like a duck to water.
I bet your food-based guests, they do stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, they do.
I feel weird.
Chefs really like it. Okay, here we go. Open wide. Now, tell me the flavours you're getting there. What have you got? Oh, it's Foxton.
Is it some sort of chocolate mousse?
Bang on. Take the mask off. Now, you stated you don't like sweet things.
No, but that's sweet in the way that that is sweet.
Yeah.
In that it's not too sweet. That's balanced. Very rare. Sometimes I can just taste sugar. That's got high cocoa content. It's a dark chocolate.
It is the signature chocolate mousse here at the Mount Street restaurant.
Is it a dark chocolate mousse?
Yeah, absolutely, as dark as it gets.
Well, that's what I like. I like my mousse like
So
that.
would you have the second spoon of that?
I wouldn't, just because I've got a gig tonight and I'm just like
You've got to have your
almost on the spectrum.
meal.
I'm almost on the spectrum about not eating too much sugar during the day. But that, if I'm going to have a dessert or pudding, as posh people would say, that's what I would go for. That's almost got the same flavour profile as that. In fact, it has got the same flavour profile
It's
as
proper
that,
chocolate.
just without the crunch. I'm assuming that's
Just chocolate shavings.
Yeah.
Same chocolate in it, shaved over the top of it.
yeah. That I would eat. I would have if I was doing the 3-courser. I would have that. Delicious, not too sweet at all.
Yeah.
All right, so you've come at me with unseasoned food and dessert, and I've liked both. Congratulations.
Well, there we go. You see, our work here is about changing perceptions and just encouraging that conversation that you shouldn't shut your mind down to anything. You should, I think, going back to what you were saying, I think another part of increasing one's health span is to retain an open mind.
Of course.
And as we get older, we all kind of go, "Oh, I don't do that anymore." Why not? Well,
And men are worse for that as well. If you look at men, right, they get to about 35, 40, and if they keep their hair, that's the haircut they have for the rest of their. But I don't like that. That's my politics. I like David Bowie. I'll never like anything else. This, until eventually they just sort of freeze. Whereas women, I could change my perm up. Oh, I'm 60. I've learned Snapchat. They tend to have a bit more growth and malleability.
but that my parents' generation, with exercise, my dad, when he was alive was, was open-minded. He liked to consume information, that kind of thing. But there was certain things he was really fixed on, like exercise, for example. He laughed at how much exercise I used to do, because he would say, cheetah, fastest animal in the world, lifespan 4 years. Giant turtle, 300. Sit down.
Yeah.
But it's not the case. And and it's not that you've got to run yourself ragged every day, but you do need to kind of keep yourself moving, even if it's walking. That whole sort of thing of like walking everywhere and just being active, keeping your joints moving, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because my mother, who's still with us, is 87 now. I remember she unfortunately fell and broke her hip about 18 months ago. And when she was in the hospital, I said, just as a matter of interest, after the age of 40, how much regular exercise did you do? None. None whatsoever, you know. And I don't know whether we're at the point where, you know, with what you're doing with Jolt, and
we will be the generation of 80-year-olds exercising that way.
Yeah.
But also, I'm delighted to hear that your mother is still with us, because if you break your hip past, and this is going to terrify you, 65 years of age, there's a 30% chance of death within a year.
Yeah.
65. I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
and
there's a 50% chance you won't even make it off the table.
Right. So it's bounce or break. They're your options when you fall over.
Yeah.
And the more muscle you've got,
you're going to bounce.
You will bounce. Not fat, unfortunately, doesn't protect you. But so you want your glutes, you want your legs strong. Don't skip leg day.
No.
And you've got a chance of hitting the ice when you're 90 and rolling and getting up and laughing. It can happen. It does happen. Always write. I love writing. I write all the time. I write for fun. I write short stories. Sometimes I write a short story for Lindsay. I've written one novel that got published. I'm working on another one, just for fun.
Well, because you started out life as your first
writer,
as a writer,
copywriter,
and that kind of thing, and it's sort of, it appears to be good grounding for comedy. That
the reason copywriting is good grounding for comedy is not the ability to write. Although what it helps me with is I don't do the ivory tower. If we've got a new show, no jokes came to me today. It's like, it's a job, just do it. If you want a 20-minute set delivered in 1 month, polished, it will be delivered. So that's what advertising does to you. It turns writing into you're not Henry James in the Tower, you're Anthony Trollope doing your 800 words each morning like he did before he went to the post office. That's the Victorian novelist Anthony Trollope. So I'm like that mindset. Help me with that. What it really helps with is my creative director would have been like, right, it's my birthday this weekend, I don't give a shit. We've got a big pitch, it's Vodafone, you're locked in that cube. The pizzas, we put you in the hotel across the road, I don't even want you staying home, we're going to win this pitch. And me and my art director would work on the idea, get on a Monday, and go, I don't like the idea, throw it in the bin, something else. And after 5 years of that, you can take anything you've lovingly worked on and do like that in the bin. Hardly any stand-ups struggle with that, particularly if they think an idea is funny. I can just bin. If we were developing a new podcast format and I passionately pitched in for a format point, and then you came back to me and was like, I'm sorry, Bauer don't like it, I'll be like, let's do something else. That's a superpower.
Because you are about to do another series of Evil Genius as well, aren't you?
Well, I've just got off the phone with the BBC. Put it this way, I can't say anything yet, but there's exciting developments there. It's going to come back a lot bigger on Radio 4.
Great.
And it's already bigger than my brain can handle, because
I find that hard to believe. I suspect there's a very large brain.
It's the research. So we'd finish this episode of Evil Genius, go, right, you can be back in a week. Can you just learn everything about Gandhi and Churchill? See you in 7 days. So it's as you'll know, prepping today, even prepping for all this food, it takes a lot of prep. But when you've got to learn global politics in 7 days and you're doing a double record, that's what I mean. That is tough.
The audio book doesn't quite cover that, does it?
It's tough, because you want to have that Stephen Fry energy, not where you're being just fed things by your producer, but where you're able to pull things out of thin air. So it is intense, but I'm brilliant in a pub quiz now, I'll tell you that. You want me on your team.
Don't play Trivial Pursuit.
But I love it so much. And
history is not even But do you consume a lot of information anyway?
I did, but history was never a passion of mine, ever. I didn't find it particularly interesting. But what I'd always found interesting is stories. And everyone's like, Evil Genius is a history podcast. I think it's a biography podcast, and biography is story. And history, when it's taught right, is story. It just never is taught right when you're 11. 1066, blah, blah, blah. It's never told as like a box set thriller, which is basically what it is. Yeah. And that's how I tell it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great history, sort of potted history books that I love. Like there's that whole series, I Never Knew That About, and they do about London and Ireland and Scotland, whatever. Yeah, because it's social history.
You're Dead to Me is a great podcast as well, great show. I think it's a Radio 4 show that. So I find it exciting each week, because I throw names in, but I get the producers to surprise me. We've actually gone with Christopher Columbus, and I love the excitement of finding out what an absolute tyrannical, horrible he was.
Well, you sound like a man who has got a mission, a plan, and almost too much to cope with. I
Yes.
mean, but you're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
We wish you every success
Thank you very much.
with the forthcoming tour, the book, the new podcast, and of course Jolt, which hopefully will be available in stores everywhere, and we can all live as long as we like, as long as we're happy. But I just want to say thank you for taking part today.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest. We've changed your mind, I hope.
I think so, yeah. Sausage and mash and chocolate pudding. I might have that for my next meal. I might have it later.
Excellent. Well, that's it for this week on Spooning. Join me next week when another special guest will be here, eating spoons blindfolded with the food cooked by Jamie Shears at the Mount Street restaurant. This podcast is, of course, available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And don't forget, we are going live this summer at all the pub in the parks, where we'll be doing this in front of a live audience and just challenging the foods that people think they love and the foods that they think they hate. So until next week, stay beautiful.